We took a beautiful trip, starting in Cappadocia, going through Anatolia and ending up at the coast, the Mediterranean coast, and Antalya. It's a beautiful trip. It was organized by the Cultural Ministry, and Cenk and Alp Ertuk were our guides and our translators. So we feel that we had a very special look at Turkey that probably most Americans don't have. And I think the most magical area was really Cappadocia. It was just amazing, the natural formations that are there, the countryside, the openness. Well, I've seen primarily the work of Nuri Bilge Ceylan and his film called Winter Sleep, which was an extraordinary film, and Once Upon a Time in Anatolia. So those are the two that come to mind immediately, and I would have to say that it's a beautiful view of Turkish life, an intimate Turkish life. But both of the films that I see there, and also the ones that were pitched here today, have many things in common. There is a very serious search for the meaning of life in contemporary Turkey, but there's also this sense of nostalgia, which I learned first about in Orhan Pamuk's memoir, Istanbul. So in looking at Turkish films now that I have been here and have experienced the countryside and the people, I can see how Turkish films in many ways are a distillation of these feelings of nostalgia and a search for meaning in life in the context of the country itself. It makes them very, very powerful films. My job, well, I am a film editor and have been for many, many years. I think because I started out as a student of literature, I was naturally drawn to the notion of editing, which is essentially the storytelling of the film, and all the elements are brought together. The cinematography, the script, the direction, costumes, everybody brings their special talent to the shooting of the film and the writing of the film, and we are the first audience, editors are the first audience of the film, and we essentially, with the director, craft the final version of the film, and we always refer to it as the final rewrite. So the editing of the film is, because I'm an editor, is one of the most important parts of the filmmaking process. And if you think about it, historically, film is about 100 years old. A little over 100 years old. And many of the crafts in filmmaking existed before film. But film editing is the one part of filmmaking that did not exist before and was invented for film. So I think that's part of the interest for me, is that it's always evolving, it's always changing. We have new tools every year. First of all, it was silent film, then film with sound, film on film, and now we work in the digital format, which of course is a completely new tool for us. So it's always changing and always vibrant, always lively. Once I've finished a film, I don't think about working on that film. I just watch it like a regular audience. But because I've looked at it so many times, I can't see it as a real film until 10 or 15 years later. Every time I look at a film in recent memory, or something that I've worked on recently, I'm constantly saying, well, if I had another day, I could do this, I could do that, I could change this, I could change that. But once the film is 10, 12 years old, I forget the difficulties, and I just watch it like a movie. Well, of course, I'm honored to have worked on it. I would have to say that when we were working on the film, we had no idea that it was going to have this level of success and that it was going to become a film classic. We didn't know. It was a film that started out with a very limited budget. It was a film that Steven Spielberg wanted to make. It was largely, in many ways, his most autobiographical film, his most personal film. And we had no idea what it was going to be. So we did know, however, Stephen and I talked about this, that the biggest challenge was to take essentially a puppet that's not alive and convince people that that's a real creature with a personality, with ideas, with emotions. And that was our biggest challenge, was to make that little creature, that a rubber puppet, into a convincing living being.